My lady,
Thank you.
Preston Karens, fellow Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen. Classification talk. This is my classification talk because I will be away for a couple of months. I will start off with this classification. I am a shipping lawyer. The first thing is a vessel, a ship. We refer to she is a large vessel. We are going to arrest her. Can you just imagine, Caroline? It's so important. Without the lady, there'll be no international trade. There'll be starvation.
Here, here.
Right? We are going to discharge or going to arrest her. It's a her, it's a she. Now, shipping law is very different. We have an action in personam and an action in rem. Now, personam is something that you all know is something very ordinary, right? Ordinary court action. But what is action in rem? Rem is when you have the plaintiff or the defendant. It's not a person. We go after the vessel, the ships. So a vessel can be named as a party. It's called an action in rem. And we take the actions against the rest, which is the Latin term for property. Shipping law can be divided into 3 sections. The first section is marine insurance. Marine insurance is again subdivided into cargo insurance and hull insurance. Hull means the whole vessel. Then the second part is carriage of goods by sea. In other words, when you wish to ship something from port A to port B, and that is called carriage of goods by sea. And lastly, we have the wet side of shipping. Wet side, and that includes things like collision, salvage, pilotage, etc., etc. I was asked only last night that I have to talk something about myself, but there's nothing interesting about me.
Oh, come on.
I have been a shipping lawyer in London and in Singapore. The other part of my interesting practice is international sports law. And that I'll reserve for a different occasion. What is international sport? I'm a member of CAS, which is CAS, Court Arbitration for Sports. I'm also on a disciplinary tribunal of IAAF, which stands for World Athletics. So CAS stands for Court Arbitration for Sport, and we educated Russia for institutionalized doping. I will not talk about this anymore, and since last night you asked me to talk more about myself. I was educated in England. I went to London School of Economics, and I went to the Middle Temple, and I practiced law in England for many years before going back to Singapore.
Peter, were you born in Singapore?
Yes.
Tell us more.
Now, why Singapore? Chris and I will be meeting in Singapore. He has just reminded me that I have to buy him a very good lunch, which I will do so. Singapore is very safe, extremely safe. I'm going from one very safe place in Vancouver to another very safe place called Singapore. Singapore is extremely safe. Then from there, I will go to all the dangerous places like Wuhan, like Hangzhou, where that will be the venue of the next Asian Games. Then I'll be going to Mumbai, India. Then I'll be going to Qatar. That will be the venue of the World Cup. Now, my second part of my practice, there's no money in it. There's no money in it. But I get tickets to go to all the Olympic events. I have a lot of friends, a lot of joys, but no money. The first part, shipping, there is money. And there are very few shipping lawyers. There are very few. And for sports lawyer, there are around 10 in Asia. So I'm going to have good times after meeting Chris in Singapore. Now, on the second part about my interests, I am very interested in piano, classical music. I'm also interested in sports, although I don't look like a sports person, right?
Oh, yes, you.
I don't look like a sports person, but I'm very active in sports, especially dealing with horses.
Oh, interesting.
I participated in horse racing in Inner Mongolia and in Mongolia itself. And in Mongolia, I participated in a race and I came in second. And the Mongolian asked me, "Are you a jockey?" I said, "No, I'm not a jockey, I'm a lawyer." Another game that I played tremendously when I was in England and in Singapore is polo. That is my interest, you see. So my family, my wife and my kids are in Toronto. They asked me to go to Toronto. I said, no, I'm not going to Toronto because I like to be based in Vancouver. My clients are all in Europe and Vancouver is more relaxing and it's a wonderful place.
Torontonian.
Well, and I'm part of the Polo for Heart in Toronto. So Peter,
Enough.
it's back up this year.
I'll be sending this to my Rotary Club in Singapore. That was my main purpose. And you say that, my lady, that there'll be questions from the members, right? So you can ask me questions, but don't ask me the embarrassing one, okay? Okay. Any questions?
Well, I want to know how many children you have
Oh, my kids are in Toronto, and one went to my university in England, and the other one went to McGill. Okay, that's all.
You have two?
Yeah,
Children.
they are in Toronto. Yes.
I follow on a daily basis, there's a website called G Captain. I'm not sure you're familiar with it. But G Captain, when you go to that website, it gives you all the information on what's going on in the shipping world. Good things, bad things, ships that have been sunk, ships that run aground, and how it happened. One of the things that was pretty interesting was, there was a container ship leaving a port in the US, a big container ship, over 1,000 feet long, with the captain on board and a local guide, and they ran the ship aground with, I don't know how many thousands of containers on board.
Wow.
Then the container ship company declared, and I'm lost for the word, that when the people who owned the containers on the boat were now responsible for a part of the share of the cost of getting them off.
Yes. It's called salvage, you see, because there is cargo salvage and vessel salvage. Can I have the earlier slide, please?
This is very timely because look at that barge down in Stanley Park.
So these are my work, like supply chain disruptions, 2, COVID-19 impact,
Yeah?
3, energy crisis and supply. And this is a very serious problem. And number 4, freight increase. You'll be surprised to know that the freight increase has gone up to as high as 10 times. Just imagine, you pay $3 to go to Starbucks for a cup of coffee, right? And suddenly, you have asked to pay $30.
Yeah.
No, this is very serious. Then Marine Cargo claims actions against carrier. This is my transparency. I used to teach these subjects in New York University and National University of Singapore. See? So this is the prelude to my lecture. Then the other one, the next slide will be my publications, which I spend sometimes in getting this. You can get it in the library because, and if you want photocopies, I can give them to you. Any other question? That was a very
Scotty,
good question.
did you get your question answered?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that what Scotty was talking about, loss adjustment and the different parties who are party to the adventure.
Well, when you have, let's say, what you mentioned is the vessel has been strengthened, right? If this is kind of situation, then to get it off, you need to have salvage company. And Singapore and Holland are the two countries that have huge salvage business. So you have cargo owners, ship owners, they have to pay for the vessel to be released.
So is that happening with that barge in Stanley Park? Why is it taking so long for them to get that? And who is paying for that to remove it?
I really do not know about that because I heard about that, you know, and definitely, first thing, as a shipping lawyer, the expenses are very expensive. We have to look at the ship owners, the charterers, whether they can afford to get it out. Yes.
Here, I live right on the seawall, so I'm looking at these big barges with, not with these ships, with all these containers, and there's one that's been there for about 3 weeks. And I'm thinking about the people on the ship, because they can't leave the ship, I don't think, can they?
Yes.
They're on that ship, because there's no going back and forth.
It's very sad things because a lot of seamen have been strengthened on vessel, and the owners have become subjects of bankruptcy. And if you're representing a party, it is extremely risky to arrest the ships. Once the ship is arrested, you take care of all the expenses from A to Z, and that is frightening.
So it's the seamen are paying the price of some of this, right?
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone is, yeah.
And it is a very interesting thing, as a shipping lawyer in all my lifetime, I have also dealt with stowaway. Stowaway. And they are professional stowaway, you know.
Really?
Yes.
So way to see the world?
No, they wanted to go to places like Canada, Australia, and some of them are extremely well educated. We usually send them back and they pay for the airfare, you know. So wait, and then we dealt with something more interesting in the streets of Malacca, and that is called piracy. Piracy, you know. So, in a nutshell, this is Shipping and Admiralty law. It is also known as Maritime Law. But it's a very interesting thing. I remember when I returned back to Oxford University, the residents of Trinity College in Oxford asked me, Peter, what have you been doing all the time? I say I'm in shipping, maritime law, and